Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Karin Helmstedt.
Hi there, and a warm welcome to our highlights of the week, which this time around happen to include the following stories. Melancholy music. Carminho is the new voice of Portuguese Fado. Animal magnetism. A German designer's wild accessories cause a stir. And colourful characters. Gregory McKechnie's collages are peopled by fantasy beings. Well, commercials are a bit like a playground for many filmmakers, often because the stories have to be told in much shorter, sharper imagery, and they have to get an emotion across in just a matter of seconds. And if you've ever wondered how they get those shots of beer sloshing in a perfect spiral into the bottom of a glass, well, it turns out some filmmakers have an extra member on their team, like this one in Hamburg.
These high-speed images were shot by an industrial robot called Spike. The robot has revolutionized the art of commercial photography.
Everyone has always wanted to show high-speed images in motion, which was theoretically possible, but it couldn't be done with analog photography in the past. One reason was that cameras were too clunky and unwieldy. Spike allows us to finally show moving images in 3D, and thanks to the camera's compact design.
This is an industrial centre in the German city of Hamburg. It's where ad production agency the Marmalade keeps its robots. Spike weighs 550 kilos. You'll also find him in car plants, but here, his arm isn't used for welding. Instead, it holds a camera. Spike's software is maybe the most special thing about him. The computer program was designed specially by the Marmalade.
In a car factory, only a few things matter. When a robot is used for welding, then you have to fit it out with welding points. One here, another there, or there. But what happens after that doesn't matter too much. But that's not the case when it comes to the camera. You really have to always operate it with pinpoint accuracy.
Down the hall, the Marmalade scientists are working on another innovation. They are polishing synthetic ice cubes for an ad shoot. They even make imitation food. Marmalade's clients include a lot of big food and beverage companies, like Pepsi, Nestle or Ferrero.
The lab is where we make all the things that aren't in season, and we also make whatever can't withstand the hot film lights. Chocolate dissolves right away, cheese looks pretty sloppy after a couple of minutes, and sausages go limp. In the lab, we make synthetic versions of all of them.
Today, there's a trial run for an ad shoot on the agenda. For the agency's clients, trial shoots are vital. One day of shooting here costs up to 60,000 euros. A hydraulic pump has been set up in the middle of a basin filled with food dye. It doesn't look anything like what you'll see on TV later on.
That's often the first thing clients ask. This is meant to be my product? Because it looks so abstract and hard to see among all the gadgets and objects. But then they look through the viewfinder and see a nice picture.
The shoot has just kicked off, and now everyone on set has to steer clear of Spike. He's a pretty powerful player in the world of commercials. Christian Fritz is operating him. He has the final say on the film set. Setting up this shoot took 2 hours, and the filmmakers are only sure they've pulled it off when the picture flashes up on the screen.
You're never really 100% satisfied. That goes without saying for people who do what we do. We're obsessed with details, with capturing that perfect, impossible moment, which never really happens. But people like the result anyway.
And now clients from around the world are lining up to try out the Marmalade's latest invention. But the company isn't resting on its laurels. Day in, day out, the team here tests new gadgets and gizmos for the next generation of advertising.
We always try to outdo ourselves, to come up with something more complex, create fantastic worlds we've never seen before that stun us. That's what's so fascinating about Spike. It's a flexible tool that adds a new dimension to high-speed photography.
For the moment, the Marmalade is just producing commercials, but they might start making blockbusters soon, because Hollywood is already knocking on their door.
Well, advertising was never very high on Gregory McKechnie's agenda, and that's because everything in his career path has seemed to just fall right into place. The 32-year-old German-Irish native was training to be a bank clerk when his girlfriend said she'd like a bracelet for her birthday. Well, he put one together that was not only very much to her liking, but also got him discovered by the fashion label Comme des Garçons. And when he tired of jewelry design, well, McKechnie just decided to study art. And now his first solo exhibition is on show here in Berlin.
Welcome to the world of Noland. Its characters reference world history, cultures, and religions. It's a world where cartoon characters mingle with shamans and pass on energy through metal hinges. Berlin artist Gregory McKechnie bases his work on a self-devised mythology.
To enter Noland, you have to enter the sixth realm. The sixth realm is also important in mythology. You can enter it using tools like meditation. It really just consists of frequencies. So this realm is creation, and you have to get into creation to be able to open the realm. Once you've opened it, you meet Echnaton, and if he lets you through, you're in.
It may sound a little off the wall, but some critics are already comparing McKechnie to Jean-Michel Basquiat or even Hieronymus Bosch. His works sell for up to 10,000 euros. The Morgan Contemporary Gallery in Berlin is hosting his first solo exhibition.
On the one hand, the works have a surreal touch. They're very philosophical. They have more of a literary context. There's also something iconographic about them, like Russian art from past eras, and a strong Renaissance influence. It's a very interesting combination.
McKechnie simply follows his imagination. He takes a picture from a magazine, colors over it with crayons, and then smudges it with his fingers, and colors over it again. He calls his technique channeling. The original picture is totally transformed.
I take a picture, and there's something hidden inside it. And it's important for me to be in contact with the picture, so I work a lot with my hands. I find wax crayons are ideal for me. I have a creature developing here, which at the moment seems to be turning into an elf-like being.
As he's redrawing the faces, names for the new creatures suddenly come to mind.
Before this was Sharon Tate. This is now Sharon Tate from Noland, and her name is Ganata.
He then pieces the individual pictures together in mini collages, which he in turn cuts up and reassembles into one big picture. Here too, he works intuitively, allowing himself to be guided by his characters.
I arrange the individual elements on a big canvas like a puzzle. It's a very meditative process. I gradually piece it together, and the picture becomes more and more dense until I get to the point where I say it's dense enough.
Even as a child, Gregory McKechnie loved to dream about fantasy worlds. Now he's found a form of expression that gives shape to the fruits of his imagination.
It looks cool at first, and then when you look closer, it's a bit spooky.
I think when you see it from a distance, it looks quite funky and colourful. But up close, it's pretty dark.
I collect art, but I couldn't put one of these up at home. They'd give me the creeps.
Gregory McKechnie's work is still evolving. As a next step, he plans to turn his creatures into animated characters for a film.
Well, those characters could certainly wear shoes like these. And global pop phenomenon Lady Gaga has, in fact, already ordered this exact pair. They're a creation by German designer Iris Schieferstein, who for many years now has used dead animals as raw materials for her sculpture and artistic accessories. Well, as a result, as you can imagine, people are rarely completely indifferent to her work. And we met up with the artist at home, where there are hooves and horses.
Hats or shoes made from dead animals. For some, worthy works of art. For others, provocative and even immoral. Death plays an important role in Iris Schieferstein's work.
When we're confronted with death, we're forced to think about life.
The artist has saved 2 former racing horses from the slaughterhouse and given them a new home. They'll have it good here for the rest of their lives.
I've often been asked if I will use my horses in my work once they're dead. I might, I don't know yet. That depends on the situation.
Of course, the sculptor doesn't kill any animals for her art, but she does use their bodies, dissecting them in her studio close to Berlin. She's captivated by the diversity of natural forms.
I can use everything, from the bones to the wings to the hide. I can work with all of it, change its appearance and give it a new meaning. In my works, things that would otherwise disappear, either naturally or by human agency, return in a new guise. I find that very exciting.
Under German law, she's only allowed to use domestic animals, ones that you can eat, you're allowed to hunt, or keep in captivity. Cows, for example. But not mice or rats. Iris Schieferstein obeys the rules, but her work has still come under fire from animal rights activists.
It would be great if all these people would consider the casual connections, in our economy too. How do we treat things? What's utilized and what are the leftovers? Are there any leftovers or do they crop up again in our everyday lives in concealed fashion? From gelatine in gummy bears, tablets and crockery, which includes pig's bones. We use soap, we wear leather shoes.
Her art splits opinion. Schieferstein courts controversy deliberately, like many artists before her. Morbid forebears of her work include this fantasy creature from the 15th century, a 17th century still life, or the 18th century French anatomist Honoré Fragonard's macabre creation, or Damien Hirst's work. His shark in formaldehyde is an icon of contemporary art. Iris Schieferstein's snake pistol is part of this tradition.
There's a trend towards people working with dead animals for whatever reason. Obviously, it has something to do with the zeitgeist.
And that's all about standing out from the crowd. No wonder her work's popular with city hipsters. Her customers include Lady Gaga. But not everyone is impressed.
I'd never wear a hair like that. I'd be embarrassed. It's freaky, something for eccentrics.
So how does it look?
Pretty exotic.
I'd go for this one, definitely.
A chance to be Lady Gaga. Fantastic. Whoever designed these shoes is a true artist.
Iris Schieferstein will be taking part in Berlin Fashion Week for the first time in January. Her main aim is to make people think about mass production and consumption.
I make things visible people normally wouldn't notice. Just because you don't see them doesn't mean they don't follow the same cycle.
Iris Schieferstein may be at one with nature, but her works divide public opinion.
Well, a stunning voice is up next, and this one should tug at your heartstrings because Carminho sings the most melancholy of the musical genres. That's the Portuguese Fado. Carminho has already made a name for herself at home as one of the best on the young Fado scene, and now she's touring Europe with her newest album and should be able to seal that reputation abroad.
Her breakthrough came 3 years ago with her very first album, Fado. She's now filling large concert halls, such as the Coliseu in Lisbon, where she recently entertained a sellout audience of more than 2,000 fans. Love, melancholy, yearning, and pathos. The lyrics and the melody of Fado reflect the soul of Portugal. At the age of 28, Carminho has already secured a reputation as one of the best contemporary Fado performers.
I sing traditional Fado music because I like that best. Of course, there are other people who have introduced different instruments and arrangements and created Fado fusion. But I feel happy with traditional Fado.
Carminho's mother was also a famous Fado singer, and she introduced her daughter to it when she was young. Time for one last rehearsal before the concert. On the program, the songs from her new CD, Alma, or Soul.
Fado is a genre of music and expression with universal appeal. It reaches all people. Even if they don't understand the words, they understand the music, because you sing Fado with a sense of the truth of the moment. And when that happens, then I feel that people understand Fado and respond to it. You just can't be indifferent to it.
Fado was born in the poor districts of Lisbon. Alfama is regarded as the home of authentic Fado. This is where Carminho began her career. For 5 years, she sang in the Fado club Mesa de Frades. You can hear Fado here every night of the week except Sunday. 84-year-old Vicente da Câmara has been a professional musician for 65 years. Carminho is so well known in Lisbon that she rarely frequents public places these days, such as Café Versailles. She's also so successful that she no longer needs to play Fado clubs, though she realizes how much she owes to them.
You learn Fado in a Fado club, not at school. You learn a little more day by day. You also learn from the experience of other people who have been singing for longer. You hear about their stories and successes. So you slowly grow into Fado. That's particularly the case for the children of Fado singers who grow up in this milieu. And so new Fado talents keep springing up.
Carminho is celebrated as the new voice of Fado. She's still young, but many have high expectations for her. Carminho, a Fado star with a bright future.
Well, chances are you've seen his work somewhere before, given that it often graces the covers of high-profile magazines. In fact, his controversial shot of a mother breastfeeding her 3-year-old son on the cover of Time just last May was apparently the most hotly debated cover in the history of the mag. Well, German photographer Martin Schoeller has a knack with people and a singular talent for portraits, and his latest book does a daring double up on that genre.
Martin Schoeller. At 44, the portrait photographer is a leading light in his field. His latest book, Identical, presents sets of identical twins, as well as triplets and quadruplets, a mosaic of gender, skin color, and age.
It's amazing to see how similar some of them still are at 70. While others, who are maybe 20 or in another phase of their lives, bear less resemblance to each other. I have the feeling that older twins look more similar. The 70-year-olds often look more alike than the 40-year-old twins, as if resemblance returns with age.
The book Identical grew out of a job for a National Geographic magazine. Schoeller has been shooting his trademark close-up portraits for 15 years. His works have featured in major U.S. magazines like Time or The New Yorker, often as full-page depictions of famous faces. These are photos he produced for Time's special edition on the London Olympics.
I have photographed Ryan Lochte for Time magazine and put black fabric on the bottom of the swimming pool and underwater lights beneath him. I lay on top of the diving board and photographed downward, and he swam back and forth a few times for me. They're probably the best pictures of athletes I've ever taken.
But his work doesn't just center on celebrities. Schoeller is also fascinated by subjects like female bodybuilders. These portraits also led to a book. Some of his photos, like this one of the tennis-playing Bryan brothers, may look spontaneous. But Schoeller can spend hours trying to capture a good picture, if his subjects let him.
I shot Angela Merkel for the American magazine Glamour. I photographed Bill Clinton for The New Yorker. How much time I have always depends on who I'm photographing. With Angela Merkel I had 5 minutes, and 25 minutes for Bill Clinton. It all depends on how important it is for the person to be photographed for that magazine and how important they are, or how much time they have.
So far, Schoeller has published 3 volumes of photographs. And his pictures are on display in some of the world's best photo galleries. The current exhibition at Berlin's CWC Gallery focuses on color photography as an art form. Among the more than 100 pictures by world-renowned photographers, there are several by Schoeller, like this one of Hollywood director Quentin Tarantino.
I like making portraits. When I started, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I should be a fashion photographer or do landscapes or still lifes. But I think portraits suit my personality. I like dealing with people. I'm not interested in fashion, and as a fashion photographer you have to love it, which I really don't. I think a photographer should specialize. It's already hard enough to make a good portrait, so I'll stick to that.
At first, Schoeller was not terribly enthusiastic about the twin theme. There are so many photographs of twins. But the more he explored it, the more exciting he found the subject.
Twins are often treated as a unit. I've heard about twins who went to school together and no one even bothered to learn their names because they couldn't tell them apart anyway. This confrontation, photographing the twins as individuals and then putting them together later, in all the photographs of twins I've come across, I've not seen that approach before.
Martin Schoeller will never run out of subjects. For a portrait photographer, nothing is more fascinating than the human face.
Well, that brings us to the end of this edition of our highlights. Hope you enjoyed it, and until we meet again, all the best from Berlin. Tschüss and auf Wiedersehen.